Hey, Mo, how we doing?
Hey, how are you?
I'm so good. I'm very good. I'm excited. I'm very excited about this.
Yeah, this one was good.
Yeah, I've been hanging out. This one's going to be real cool.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Awesome.
Hey guys.
Graham, what's happening, bro?
Hey,
Yeah,
Coxie.
nothing much. Hey Renee, how you going?
Good. How you been?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad.
Yeah.
Carrying on. Yeah, just made it home time from the beach. Yeah, just got into the beach, took the kids for a swim, and then decided I'll come back here and listen to this.
Yeah, why not? Right? Why not?
Yeah.
I was just saying to Renee, I'm really excited about this one. Hang on, Dan's just messaging me, team. I'm just going to make sure. Do I click on join or present? Join, bro.
Was the swell up, Graham?
Yeah, it was heaps of swell. Yeah, just even at Mullaloo, it was just bashing through, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
The man himself, Dan. There he is. Dan, you're coming muted, bruh. You're gonna have to unmute your unmute yourself.
How's that now?
There we go, bro.
All right, cool. I repel technology,
Bro,
so
awesome.
this is gonna be fun.
Oh, we broke up a bit. That might be me.
We good? We good? Let's see. Okay. I can see people moving around, so I'm like, I don't know if anyone can hear me or.
I can hear you now, bro. I can hear you now.
Oh, cool, cool. Yeah. I was like, am I doing this right? I'm literally just sitting here like held quiet, going like, okay.
No, we're good. We're good. We're real good. And we got a bunch of people jumping on, which is awesome. So, Dan, it's wicked too. Really cool to meet you finally. I guess we can say face to face, right? This is face to face.
Yeah. This is face to face as COVID-19 will allow. So yeah, we'll call this face to face.
Wicked. Mate, we'll just fuck around for a little bit while we while everyone joins. It looks like we got a bunch of people coming in, which is great, which is cool. Once we get a few people in and I don't have to. I can stop clicking admit. We'll get stuck into it. So, how's your morning been anyway?
Yeah. It's been pretty cruisy so far. I've just had like a few calls and stuff like that with clients. So it's just been kind of doing that, just doing some emails, like kind of admin side of things, and then pretty much like this is kind of the highlight for my day today. And then I might go and finish like the rest of the Fast and Furious off because I'm up to like number 7 right now. So.
And so you've watched them all the way through, like in order?
Look, I'm sad enough to say yes. I mean, who doesn't like? There's not much you can do. You know what I mean? Like you can only watch so much Netflix on occasion until you just go like, you know what? I just need to get into some sort of movie saga. Like. Sounds bad. I did watch the Twilight ones like the other week, and that was me and my partner finished that in like a day. Like we woke up at like 8, and we're just doing like all our emails and stuff, and then like admin, and then it was like kind of just brain numbing whilst we were there. So it was cruisy.
Cool, very cool. when everyone, if you guys, as you guys are jumping on board, if you can do me a massive favor and just mute your microphones just for the first part, just so we don't get that feedback in. And when me and Dan rip into this and start chatting, what we'll do is we'll end up pausing in between segments, or we'll find somewhere where there's a really cool opportunity for you guys to unmute your microphones and then jump in and ask some questions about the topics that get covered. Now, this is very much a chat. Like, it's very casual. We're just going to talk about shit. You know, Dan's going to tell us a bit about what he does, give us his views on why we get fat and all that kind of crap, and then we're going to see where it takes us, which I think is the best way. I think that the best content comes out from the unplanned content. And then afterwards, if we didn't cover anything specific that you guys really wanted to get into, then we'll open the floor and you guys can just abuse Dan with your questions. So, which would be cool.
Or abuse Aiden as well. You know,
or
an argument to this. You know, I'd rather not be the person of attack here. I mean, if you want to praise me, I'm more than happy for you guys to go like, you know, really appreciate it, like really cool. But if you're just abusing me, nah, pass it to him. He was the one who organized this.
I love it.
Yeah. So I've literally got like enough coffee to like keep me running for like hours. So we're gonna be perfectly fine.
Good. I'm hanging out. I've had my morning. I've had my 2 morning coffees actually, and then I'm hanging out I'm a 3 coffee a guy kind of person, but my last one, I'm saving that one. I'm gonna Alex Jr. and I'm gonna make sure that that's a good one.
Well, that's why when I messaged you, I was like, are we gonna go on a little bit earlier? Because I actually bought like a French press, so I'm just doing like French press coffee just because I'm like, you know, it's the only time when I've been kind of like my entire working time that I can actually do it and enjoy it. So I was like, you know what? I was like, I'm going to treat myself. Treat myself.
Yes.
Someone said Alex Jr. is the best.
Yes, Samantha, they are so good. It's the best coffee. I drive 15 minutes one way in the morning at 6 in the morning to grab a coffee and then bring it back. So, and I missed out this morning. So I'm hanging out. Oh, she works there. Yes. I love it.
You need a discount now. We need a discount code for this. What's the discount?
I know, right, Sammy? Like we just did a shout out. That's at least a free coffee, right? You gotta tell Kez we just gave him a good pump on our webinar. So wicked. Well, okay, dude. I think we've got a few people on board, which is really cool. I'm just gonna change a few settings. We are recording this too, team. So we'll be able to release this later if you guys chime in and out, or you've got to go, or whatever. So we'll be able to release this in a replay. I am just going to change my screen. Hang on, bear with me for a second. So put that on spotlight. Work it. Awesome. And where's Dan? Wow, we've still got people coming in, bro. This is awesome.
That's sweet. This is kind of like I haven't ever used this kind of like format before, so I had no idea how to do it. So I'm like a Zoom guy, so I was like, do I click the link? Do I like join in? Do I present? I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? I was like, but it seems like so many people coming in, so
it's
yay!
Good. It's good.
People
yeah,
people actually want to hear this shit. This is
I love Zoom. I use Zoom as well. But I don't know why I chose Google for this platform. It was just one of those ones where that was where we went, and it's working. So people are finding it. It's good. Yeah.
If ain't broken, don't fix it.
Absolutely. Right. I think if anyone else chimes in, bro, I'm just gonna keep adding them in. So obviously I've been running these masterclasses weekly. They just happened to fall weekly. I don't know why, they just did. But I thought, why not? Why COVID's on, let's take the opportunity, connect with a few people so they can share what they do. You can share what you do with my audience, and we can talk a little bit about what we do with your audience and all the rest of it. But I guess the main reason today is I really wanted to dive into nutrition, obviously, and what you do, what you provide for your clients, what you can help. And that side of things. I'm sure I've got a bunch of questions that people have texted me in afterwards that can't make the call, so we can nail those later on. But bro, if you want to open it up and just tell us a little bit about you, what you've done, your qualifications, all the rest of it, go for it.
Yeah, cool. So if everyone doesn't know who I am, hi, I'm Dan. I'm the founder and the head coach at Team Ecto. So we are what's known as a hybrid coaching company. So we do both online and also face-to-face coaching. So at the moment, we don't do face-to-face, obviously, because we weren't allowed, but we do online as well, which is kind of really cool. And we specialize in kind of like a wide spectrum of things. So we are known more for body composition and getting people kind of ready for physique and stuff like that. But we do powerlifting, as well as we do work with some CrossFit athletes as well for their nutrition side of things. So that's really kind of cool as well. And my degrees are, I have a bachelor's of sports science with exercise physiology. I have a bachelor's in nutrition and a master's in dietetics. So I spent a long time at uni basically trying to become kind of like smart in just nutrition, if that makes sense. You know, like that was kind of like a real big passion of mine. And it was something, especially after finishing bachelor's of sports science, they kind of went, cool, well, what are you going to do after this? And I was like, well, I'm going to be a sports scientist. And it was like kind of like this wholehearted like thing. And they're like, yeah, cool. So that just means you're essentially an overqualified personal trainer. So what are you going to do? And we were kind of like, so a few of my friends were doing exercise phys. So I decided that's a 1-year thing afterwards. Yeah, cool. Let's go do that. And then after that, there was kind of no jobs there. So I went, well, instead of me trying to find one, I'm just going to spend more time at uni, create an even bigger debt for myself, which I'm having the lovely pleasure of paying off right now. And then I decided to go do nutrition, which at the time was really, really cool because I was single. And if people don't understand a lot of nutritionists, they're predominantly a very female-based industry. So me being a single guy, there was only one other dude in my class and he had a partner. I was pretty much like, let's do some cooking. So yeah.
Let's do some cooking. Fuck yeah.
So that's pretty much my kind of area of expertise and stuff.
Yes.
And I have a real big passion for kind of working with people to help them achieve stuff that they never thought they could, you know, like we have people come in and go, you know, I want to lose weight, I want to lose body fat, I want to do all this stuff. And we go, okay, cool. Well, this is how we do it. And we do it in such a way that's quite different to other people, you know, like it's more so about prioritizing health above everything else. And then when a person's healthy enough to do what we want, then we only need to do slight manipulations to get them to where we need them to be. And that's what I feel is kind of the key thing now, you know, like making sure you're building that solid foundation before you commence any sort of dieting or fat loss phase or whatever the goal may be, to then kind of coax your body into doing what you want it to do, you know, like this. I kind of say it's like kind of like a fart, you know, if you have to force it, it's probably shit. So you want to make sure that it's a nice, simple way to do things. So yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Cool. Wicked, dude. That was a wicked fucking intro. That was a good story. And man, to be like a couple of blokes in a room full of female nutritionists, like that's fucking legendary, man. So you got all these degrees. You went out with a passion to go and help people. Why did you specifically choose nutrition and this path?
So nutrition for me is something that is very misinformed these days and still is. I mean, we're talking, I finished university probably about 2 years ago now. So when I was still there was people who were still telling like information that was very outdated or was incorrect or was kind of nitpicked, you know, and it was like they read a research paper when in reality it was only the abstract and they bastardized a lot of it. And then you've got this person who, let's face it, with coaches, we're in a position of authority. You know, you tell someone something, they're going to listen to you and they go, that is the law, that is the testament because my coach said so. So you have all these people who don't understand it very, very well, or they do, but they don't understand the concepts of everything. And then they're telling clients these things. And then next thing you know, they're telling other people and it kind of spreads out that way. And it's kind of like, it shuts down what I believe is the correct way to do things. And I mean, it's my way. My way could be wrong as well. And if someone's happy to call me out on that, I will happily change my views and my philosophies on things, because that's what's going to make me become a better coach within itself. But when I hear the misinformed, the educated, the uninformed, that's when it starts to go, okay, I need to do something with this. You know, and that's why I went down the path of nutrition more so than I was training. You know, like I have obviously some experiences with that, and you know, I can get people strong, I can get them put on size, and that's kind of, it's easier enough to do. But I think nutrition is still one of those kind of secret, we talk about it, but we don't really know a lot about it kind of things. You know what I mean? Like you hear people go like, this is the only way to do it. This is the way. And it's like, well, why is that the way?
Yeah.
Oh, it just is. Just do it. And I'm like,
no, I don't agree with that. Like, you need to know the why behind everything that you're doing, you know? So, yeah. Absolutely. I'm glad you said that. I got a really cool saying that I love to throw around, and that we all thought that the world was flat until it wasn't, right? And so I'm the same thing. I will believe something, and I will fucking preach it until my blood runs red, until someone can give me another reason or a different alternative, and I'll change my mind in a heartbeat as soon as that information becomes available, or someone can teach you something else that kind of makes sense. And I think nutrition is a little bit like that. There's so much information out there, heaps of it out there. It is actually really hard to know what to believe, who to trust, what's current, and not even to get into the whole conspiracy theories about the information that's being published to suit different agendas, right? We're not even going to go there today. No way.
That's Illuminati. We stay out of that stuff. I'm not playing that game. I'm not playing that today.
No way. That's another whole podcast altogether, right? So, mate, like your process, your beliefs, your philosophy. When someone comes in to grab your services, whether it's a CrossFitter, someone that's after a comp, do you have a specific method, or is it literally like individually based? Do you adapt it to suit everyone? Like, if you go.
So I kind of look at it as the best methodology is to have no set methodology. So what I mean is, every person that we work with is different. Now they might have similar traits or similar kind of things or goals that they want to do, but each person is like their N of one. So I might have some people who can tolerate, we're talking astronomical high amounts of calories and carbohydrates, but then I might have some people who don't, So it's kind of working out what works best for them, and then just customizing it to make sure that they get the results that they're after, whether it is, fueling for performance or trying to get someone leaner, it's all kind of varies in individual. But probably the biggest thing that I see a lot more common these days is no one actually eats enough to do anything. So it's kind of like running your credit card dry and then trying to take more money out afterwards. You need to pay off the debts eventually. So when I have someone, particularly we'll talk in terms of, say, a female, and we have them trying to eat 2,000 calories, for example, as a start point, and they instantaneously crap themselves, kind of, I'm not doing this, I'm not eating this because it's way too high. And then you've got to go, okay, well, why is that the case? Why do you believe this kind of idea? And then kind of you have to break down, like, what is the aspects of metabolism? Why do you need to fuel more? And actually kind of break it down and go, you're running on half a tank and you're trying to make the full distance. You ain't going to do it. You're going to crash a burn, or you're not going to get the outcome that you're after. So it's more so, it's a very individual kind of thing, but some of the processes may be similar to each person depending on what age you go. Like, for fat loss, you have to eat a little bit less than what you're expending. Monitor, you manage, you progress. Opposite for muscle gain and then performance, it's just trying to find that sweet point of what is enough to keep the person fueled for the training that they're doing, and then just making sure that everything in terms of like sleep, stress, inflammation, all that stuff is managed to then help improve performance even further.
So you mentioned earlier, when you go through your process, you come in with like a health perspective first, rather than their immediate goal. Is that because you've got to make sure that the healthy first, that the whole body is working how it should first, and then start attacking the goals? Is that the angle?
Yeah. So when you look at it, is if a person is trying to say a person's trying to lose body fat, okay,
Yep.
so we're going to go, all right, person's trying to lose body fat, and let's throw some numbers out. So they're not eating a lot, all right, so they're not eating enough. They're chronically stressed all the time. You know, they've got a stressful life, you know, kids, loved ones, whatever, just doing their heads all the time, not sleeping enough. And then you add training on top of that. Now, they've been doing this for years and years on end, okay? So what's the definition of insanity?
Doing the same thing over, expecting a different result.
Exactly. So if we look at that and we go, okay, so right now your body is going to go, I don't have enough energy to do anything right now. And I generally don't give two shits whether you're shredded or not. I just care that when you go to sleep, then next day you can wake up, you know, because that's all the body cares about. It cares about survival of the host. So if I can then go to someone, hey, your goal right now is I actually want you to sleep more. Instead of sleeping 5 hours, try and aim for 8 hours. We're going to see a very, very different shift in how they're going to be able to handle things. You know, they're going to be able to tolerate more glucose now, so they're going to have a better glucose sensitivity. We know that they're going to have more lean mass in them in comparison to fat mass. And there's been research that's shown this when they've compared two groups who slept, one group slept 5.5 hours and another group who slept 8 hours. The group who slept 8 hours actually lost more body fat and retained more lean tissue in comparison to the 5.5 hour group. And we go, okay, now let's increase your calories, because we know if I can increase your calories, your output in training is going to go up a lot higher as well. So if we know that, you know, the adaptations of resistance training, for example, is you're going to put on more lean mass, it allows you to handle more volume. You can recover better from it as well, because you actually have nutrients that can come in and actually do their job, which is to help you. And that I haven't really done anything in terms of fat loss yet, but that sounds like I'm moving towards fat loss, you know?
Yep.
And what I've done is I went sleep more, train a little bit better, eat more, and, you know, chill the fuck out, maybe do some yoga or something, you know, or like, you know, find a hobby, whatever it may be, and they're going to get a better outcome that way. So we haven't even started talking about reducing intake or kind of manipulating nutrients to certain times or anything like that. We just said, let's focus on just bringing you up to a very nice foundation of health to then be able to do whatever the goal may be at that point.
So do you find when you come in with that concept, do you get a lot of people, do you experience a lot of friction? Like they come in, they're like, I want to get fucking shredded, just put me on a calorie death, and then next minute you turn around and you go, no, I want you to fucking eat more and sleep more. Like, do you?
It's kind of a. I haven't had resistance personally from that because I think one, people who come to tend to work with me already kind of have a real good understanding of buying. Like, you know, that's what we speak about all the time. You know, it's like eating more and losing body fat, and that's what, like, if you see like on social media, that's pretty much all I post all the time. So cool. Do this, do this. So in that sense, but I also kind of look at it as if I do have any resistance, I like to use kind of like analogies and stuff that people understand. It's like, so I like to build a foundation of a house, right? So if I'm saying, okay, if I can build a really big foundation that's very solid, say we're using concrete, for example, I can build a mansion, right? Now, if I build that foundation on sand, I can't really build a nice house. The house is probably going to break down and crumble. So if we don't manage all that other stuff beforehand, what's going to happen is we're going to basically have a house that's going to collapse in on itself, and you're going to end up worse than what you actually started. So why not build a nice foundation, and then we can build a mansion on top of that, which is going to be really nice, and you can actually, you know, do stuff and then maybe sell it down the track to even build a better house again, which is in turn the deficit that we talk about. So why wouldn't you want to do that? And then people kind of go, oh shit, like that kind of, it makes sense, you know? Yeah.
So you're kind of pre-framing them. You're educating them, understanding why these points are important, and building that first, and then progressing from there once they've got that established. Hey.
Yeah, and that's how it should. I feel it should always be. Is it's one of the other things, like coaches kind of like to keep things very close to their chest. They never like to kind of reveal the cards. You know, it's like, why can you do that? Oh, let's just do it, just because I said it. And it's like, I feel we should be educating and empowering clients to make better decisions so that they can do it themselves if they need to. You know, like I kind of say to a lot of clients, it's like, my goal is to be kind of the last person you ever see.
Yes.
Sounds really bad, but you know, coaching has a life expectancy. We have a lifespan. So if I can go to a person, like, I can teach you anything that will make it now sustainable progress, that if I see you 2 years down the track, you look either the same or better than what you were before.
Exactly.
To me, that's success.
Yes. Yeah. I'm glad you said that, dude, because anything I preach is all about making sure that it's permanent and sustainable. And by all means, you could have this wicked template, if we could template food and nutrition, right? If we covered that, we can't, but you could just issue the information and just go, right, here you go, guys, go follow this. But the minute that they stop following that, we haven't taught them anything. We haven't educated them anything. They've got no fucking idea what they're doing other than the fact that they're really good at following a PDF. And so then they fall off the bandwagon and it repeats itself, right? So I'm glad you said that, because as coaches, it is our job. We have to teach and educate so we're not needed. Otherwise, what have we done? Yeah.
And when you look at the people who have followed the templates or they've done the PDF and stuff, and this is why I kind of like, I don't go, there's a set process or set ideology to it, is if you have someone who follows like an 8 or 12 week or whatever long week thing, really swore really back then, apologize for that, and they get the result, all right? No one's going to question they get the result. Check them out in a few weeks later after that goal. So their after looks worse than when they started, because it's always a situation. So then what happens to the person is they go, well, I want to get back to where I was. I did this last time that got me there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do exactly what I did again, and they hope that it kind of gets the same result again, which we know it doesn't. It actually gets a little bit less, or it doesn't even work to that same extent. Again, there's insanity. So they kind of go into this kind of cycle part here, which makes it really hard to kind of get out, because that's the only thing they know, because they went, well, this worked for me the last time I did it. And we go, well, did it though?
Yeah.
Like, it sounds like a real bad thing. It's like, I did this and it worked. And it's like, well, it didn't work because you're here sitting to me now asking me to help you with your goals, because that didn't work.
Yes. Do you find the same thing when you're trying to work with someone? And obviously there's people out there that when we put them on a program, poof, everything just falls off and it goes 100%. There's other clients that we work with and we try something and it doesn't quite work. So you got to tweak it, and then it doesn't quite work and you got to tweak it. Do you find that that's the same thing when people ping pong around different, like they go from paleo to lemon detox to all of these fad fucking things, always chasing their tail rather than staying at one thing and just tweaking it and being consistent?
So that's kind of the, when you're talking about short-term gratification versus long-term satisfaction. So
yes,
everyone kind of craves short-term gratification a lot more. You know, that's what we crave. We crave, if I can sell a silver, like a pill that will get everything you want, you know, I would be a billionaire, you know, because that's what everyone wants. If you turn around to someone and go, look, this might suck, this might take some time, it might take a lot of tweaking and manipulations and going based on your body, they're kind of going to go, I'm not really interested in that, you know, because I want it to kind of happen like that.
Yes.
So what the other thing as well is you are going to have people who are hyper responders, you know, like you're kind of genetically, you know, you throw anything at them, it just works. And you're like,
yes,
damn, I hate you because it just worked. And then you're going to have other people on the other end of the spectrum though, who it's not going to work that way. And that's when it then relies on you having an understanding of kind of the concepts and the breakdown of the human body and going, okay, well, I need to be a lot more specific, and I need to target exactly what you need based on where you're at right now in your time frame. So some people, it's kind of like I say, we never use a shotgun approach with thing. You know, a shotgun approach just kind of scatters and it just hits the target. I would rather be more like a sniper. It's kind of like one shot, one kill. You know, okay, this is you. This is what we need to do right now to kind of improve that. Let's take the shot. We target acquired, you know? So that's how I play shooting games.
I love it. So when we were talking about and health and getting quite specific for people, like you said, you've got those genetic freaks where we can just, you know, you throw anything at them, or you throw your method at them and it works, and they hyper respond. When you get the people that don't hyper respond or don't respond at all, is that when they're on the other end of the spectrum with genetics? So do genetics play a part? What about hormones and all that sort of stuff? Like how do you tackle that side of things?
So genetics, to an extent, genetics are kind of stationary, so they won't really change so much. However, there is a thing in regards to epigenetics, which is where our environment will dictate the activation or silencing of a certain gene, okay? So the activation of it would be obviously methylation of it. So there are some situations where some people, for example, might respond better to cardiovascular training rather than resistance training. Now, I'm not saying this is set in stone and this is kind of super important. We go, okay, this is what kind of governs everything, because I do believe based on epigenetics, we can alter that, we can change that concept around. But it's super important to also take into consideration that there might be some kind of variance with those people. I don't say it's the be all end all, and I don't get anyone to do like genetic testings or anything like that, because I think that's a waste of time and money. But it's important to know, okay, some people might have a genetic predisposition to a certain health issue. So, you know, if they have incidences of like high cholesterol in the family, okay, then I'm probably not going to give them a high fat diet, because that might then require them to have some issues with that down the track. And then that might cause gallbladder issues, and therefore I can't give them kidney gallbladder stones and stuff, and hey ho, I was now gone. So I wouldn't say that so much. Now, in regards to the hormone side of things, I kind of laugh and I kind of don't. Everyone uses hormones as kind of the scapegoat for a lot of shit. It's like, my hormones are messed up, and I go, okay, which one? And no one can actually give the definitive response to it, nor does anyone kind of understand what each hormone does in the body or how it interacts with different organs and different stuff like that. So we know, for example, like we'll go cortisol. Cortisol is bad. Insulin's bad as well, right? So insulin's meant to be the bad guy. All right. So if you don't have cortisol, you will die. That is a very, very simple thing. Okay. If you do not have any cortisol in your body present, you will die. That is basically what tells your norepinephrine and epinephrine to activate to therefore wake you up in the morning. So you don't have that, you're fucked. Chronic amounts of that will cause issues. Okay. And that's obviously when you start seeing an increase in visceral fat around obviously the midsection and stuff like that, decrease in mood, apathy, that may be that. Now, insulin isn't as bad as people think, because obviously we view it as a signaling hormone. So it signals the increase of what's known as GLUT4 to go to the outside of the cell to allow glucose to come in. But one of its other actions is it actually inhibits cortisol. So when you look at that, everyone's going, insulin is bad. And I'm like, yeah, but it inhibits cortisol, which might actually help lower stress, which therefore can actually improve someone's body composition and also allow carbohydrates to be utilized and stored into muscle.
So like, whoa, what do we do now? What do we do now, right?
So it's kind of, when people go, oh, it's my hormones, I go, okay, well, which ones? Like,
which one?
You know, and same with, we'll talk in regards to, say, females. Everyone goes, estrogen is bad, you know? Estrogen is obviously the bad guy in this situation. Well, it's actually very carbohydrate sensitive. So having high levels of estrogen actually allows you to handle carbohydrates more effectively. Actually allows you to train a lot harder at higher intensities. So you can actually train to kind of failure a lot more effectively if you have a higher presence of insulin available. It's also quite lipolytic, so it allows you to break down fat more effectively. But estrogen's bad, right?
I get where you're coming from. So what about when you get people come in? And since we're talking about females, what about people with PCOS, like and those sort of syndromes? Yeah. Okay.
So polycystic ovarian syndrome is nowadays classified by three sub things. It's basically you need two of three. All right. So the first one is levels of insulin resistance. So obviously elevations of insulin in a blood test. Some levels of androgen increase. So obviously an increase in androgen. So whether that would be testosterone, lower estradiol on a blood panel, and also cysts of a certain size and diameter on obviously the ovaries. So those are the three classifications for polycystic ovarian syndrome. Now, you only need two of the three. So which ones do you think that majority of people will be classified as for PCOS? It's the first two, you know, elevated insulin. So when we look at that, there are ways to improve these things in a person. So there was a study done, I think they used spearmint tea, for example. It's a really, really good kind of thing for this. If you take 2 cups of spearmint tea, it actually increases the amount of sex hormone binding globulin, which will actually bind to reduce the level of androgens present in the body. You know, and then if we're talking insulin resistance, there's obviously medication that you can take, such as metformin. Love it, by the way, really, really good drug. You can get your hands on it, or even its counterpart, which is berberine, which can actually improve insulin sensitivity to a person. Another thing that you can do to, if you are noticing there's an issue with that, is you can just create more movement. You know, and that's what you'll see with a lot of people if they're diabetic. A diabetes educator would actually turn around to them and go, I would like you to move about 10 to 15 minutes before you consume a meal to actually help you like utilize glucose a lot more effectively that way, obviously through a different mechanism, which is calcium dependent. So with polycystic, it's a lot of people, and this is kind of the idea that a lot of people have, is with PCOS is they will tell you to go low to no carbohydrates or ketogenic because obviously you can't do carbs. I don't believe that is the correct way to do things, because obviously we know that we need them in, especially for performance and stuff like that, but also in terms of body composition. So maybe finding the right amount, and then as they become more receptive to what you're doing, maybe then increasing it from there on. Hello? Aiden is frozen. Can everyone else hear me? Just wait. I've got like 2 people there. Okay, cool. I'm like, Renee and Mei Ling are still there. I'm like, yo, what's up?
Yeah. We're good. We're good. I'm back.
I was like, what happened there, man?
Wow. No, we're good. We're back. I just had one of those weird glitches like it did at the start, but we're cool. Okay, where did we were talking about PCOS, we got up to that. So
pretty much kind of just, I think we just finished that one, kind of like just like smooth that there. Yeah.
Boom. Well, while we've still got a whole bunch of people on board, why don't we take this opportunity, segue into some Q&A, see what some people have got to holler at us. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, because we've got like fucking over 20 people, we don't want everyone firing their questions first. So we're going to start at the top of the list, the list that I've got down here, and then we're going to fire some questions out. So Amy McKenzie, now's your opportunity, babe. If you've got any questions, let's fire them at me. Next up will be Shinmay Bahati. Shinmay, if you've got any questions, start firing them at Christina Stewart. Start firing those questions. Damien Mataros, start firing some questions. Yeah, I'm so good with the names. While we're waiting for those guys to see if they're going to turn on their mics and ask away, I've got some questions here. So Graham Cox, and I know he's listening. I can see him right now. He's after some ideas for breakfast options that are nutritious other than bloody bacon and eggs and a smoothie shake. He says he always gets stuck at brekkie.
So kind of nutritious and or delicious. So man, I'm very basic with this sort of stuff. So the reason why is I'm kind of one of those guys. I'm quick and simple. I just get in, I just eat, and for me at the moment it's just cereal. Like, it sounds really bad. I like to train in the morning. So what I'll do is I have kind of a high carbohydrate cereal. I'll have like some milk or almond milk or whatever's in the fridge. I just have that. I'll wait an hour and then I'll go train afterwards. So my favorite at the moment is actually like Wheaties. It's just simple, it's cheap, and for some reason no one touches it on the shelves, which makes me very, very happy. So I would tend to kind of eat that before I train, and it kind of allows me to get a real good performance in that sense of things. Now, the other thing that we kind of will look at with that is when predominantly do you train as well? So if you train a little bit later in the day, you might want to prioritize carbohydrates a little bit more pre-training to allow you to train harder with that. So you might look then at, bacon and eggs, it's fun as anything, but over time it does get a little bit like that. So maybe making something like an omelette, a frittata, something that's quick and easy, but also if you're going out and about, right, you can actually kind of mix it all up into like a container, lob in a microwave, boom, it's easy, it's done, and you don't need to fuck around as much, because I know a lot of people are doing like work and stuff like that, so they might not have access to cooking kind of equipment and stuff like that, like a stovetop or anything weird. So I try and find things that are very microwavable and easy to do. Other things might be like overnight pods, like chia pods if you want to do those, or an overnight oat stack. like there's a ton of things that you can do. It just comes down to preference of it more than anything, because I wouldn't go like, this is the one way to eat. You must eat like this.
Yeah.
But if you're like, yeah, no, I don't like that. If I'm like, you need to eat sardines in the morning on toast, you're going to go, yeah, that is not going to happen. You know, he's really shaking his head going like, I wouldn't eat that. But if I said to you, you know, all these benefits, and you're like, yeah, that's still ain't going to happen. So it comes down to an individual preference of things. So what I say is try and find something that you enjoy and you can actually eat on a kind of day-to-day until it gets bored and change it up again. So I'm guessing you've been on the bacon and egg life for a little while and you're over it now. So maybe it's time to change it up, you know, like I would say at that point, maybe do like an omelet, you know, instead of bacon, use ham, get your eggs, chuck some veggies in there, mix it up, and hey, it's a pretty good meal and it's got a lot of kind of volume to it as well, which is nice.
Yeah. Mate, you with your breakfast, you touched on, you know, Wheaties and milk. So really cool opportunity for me to dive into your headspace. The whole milk thing, the whole grains thing, information from milk, information from grains, and then, you know, the negative effects from dairy, all that kind of crap. Talk to me about your views on that.
Research is showing that there is no negative effects to dairy, and it actually does help lower inflammation. The only time I would avoid it with a person if they do have a lactose deficiency, and that would be pretty much it. So my ideas when I come to nutrition, and I say this to a lot of people, is there's no good food and there's no bad food. The only time I would classify something as bad is if it creates an adverse effect on the body. So first off, we got to understand the difference between side effect and adverse effect. All right. So if I take caffeine, for example, the side effect is I'm going to have an increase in concentration. I'm going to perform better because it reduces my perception of RPE and it improves my anaerobic capabilities. Right. If I take too much caffeine, the adverse effect is I will most likely crap myself because it also prepares sepsis. So I might, okay. So when we kind of look at that, that's an adverse effect. So if it does a negative effect to the body, it's known as adverse, not a side effect. So if someone's lactose deficient, the adverse effect is it's going to cause some sort of gastrointestinal distress. So that's where we go, okay, that most likely will need to stop them. So that's the only time. Now, in terms of like grains and stuff, again, I don't get the idea when people are like grains are bad, because majority of the people who have celiac disease, that's when it's bad for a person. But if you don't have it, then it's not a bad thing. Now, a lot of people in this situation, it's because they've eliminated for such a long period of time that it may alter their ability to digest it, because the enzymes that we might need might have been downregulated for a period of time. So that's where we got to kind of look at it and go, hey, is it because you celiac or you have a non-celiac gluten intolerance, or is it because you haven't consumed bread since 1970?
Right. So is there benefit then in allowing those enzymes to build up? So I was going to lead in there and ask, how would someone know if they're not self-aware, how would they know they have an adverse effect to something? So for example, if you've been consuming milk for a little while and you've got the enzymes in there, how do you know if it is or isn't having an adverse effect?
So when we look in terms of gastrointestinal distress, they'll have some abdominal bloating, there might be some cramps, they might have a change in bowel movements. Those would be kind of like the main key markers for that. And a person could assess and go, that doesn't feel right for me. But again, is kind of, when I say to people like, and this is the thing that I want to kind of clear up, is if you haven't consumed it in one period of time, don't slam down 2 liters of milk straight away. But people do that. Like, we're very dichotomous, you know, like we're nothing. So like, they're going to go, Dan said milk is good, slam down 2 liters of milk, and next thing you know, they're on the toilet hugging their guts. It's like, well, no, start a little bit and then build up to a capability. Like, if you look at it, it's like 300 mils a day might be enough. You know, so maybe start a little bit, you know, add a little bit with your coffee or something. I don't know. And then go, okay, let's add a little bit more each time. That is a way that you can build up kind of your threshold and find out that way. And that's actually one of the things that they do with patients in regards to irritable bowel syndrome, is they will do an elimination diet. So obviously eliminate by a FODMAP, and then they'll slowly reintroduce certain foods and then find the dose response. Because that's the thing, dose makes the poison. You know?
Yeah.
So if you've got someone who's like can tolerate milk, but they might be able to tolerate small amounts of it, then you might be able to build on that and build it over time to then find kind of how much can a person ingest of it before it becomes adverse.
Right, understood. That's cool. That's cool. And so you would practice that elimination with your clients sometimes if you needed to get down to the nitty-gritty of what they could handle?
So if a person's noticing that they're having some sort of GI distress, what I normally say is I'd like to see the last few days of kind of what they've been consuming. I'm not one of those coaches where it's like, watch your food diary every week and I'm going to assess it, because each person's different and it might be a reason why they consume that food for psychological reasons, spiritual reasons, whatever it may be. So I'm not going to go, that food choice is bad, don't take it, because that's going to create some sort of disordered eating view down the track.
Yeah.
But if we can go to a person and go, hey, let's see what's going on, and we'll find common trends. You'll find commonalities when they're eating something and go, hey, can you just not eat that for a few days and let me know how it's going? And they're like, man, I feel really good. Okay, cool. Yeah. That was the trigger that was causing all these issues. We're not going to have it for a while. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you to slowly introduce maybe X amount, depending on what the food item is, and just see how you go. And then we can build up kind of the level that we need and then go, okay, that's enough. We're done.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Mate, that was a wicked spin-off to bacon and eggs for breakfast, right?
Man, I segue and I go down rabbit holes really fast. So you're going to have to bring me in otherwise. It's like tangents.
I love it. Nah, it's good. It's good.
That's why when people ask questions, I just go nuts.
No, and that's the whole point. And that's why I love this format so much, is because, we start off somewhere and then we end up somewhere else. And 9 times out of 10, it's actually what people want to hear. So let's rip into another question. If Virginia wants to ask, what are your views on intermittent fasting? How to do it when you are weight training?
Okay. This is like one of the most common questions I ever get asked on like my social media. They go like, what's your thoughts on intermittent fasting? Number one, I have a lot of thoughts on it. It's never negative nor positive. Number one, I call it time restricted feeding. That's probably a nicer way to explain what it is, because basically you're restricting yourself to a certain time period. Now, the reason why intermittent fasting became kind of like cool is because people were losing a lot of weight on it. All right, because they're like, you only eat 8 hours of the 24-hour day. So that was a common one, 16 and 8. If you're really busy, you can do 20 and 4. I did that for a while, and when your meals start becoming like bowls, my partner would look at me like absolutely disgusted. She'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But I was working like 16-hour days back then. So for me, like trying to eat something was a non-negotiable then. I was like, yeah, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But in terms of for fat loss, it might have some kind of benefits if you're reducing intake. In terms of muscle growth, I think it's absolutely crap, and I wouldn't recommend it to people because you need a constant supply of protein to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. So it depends on the goal with it as well. Now, the other thing with time-restricted feedings, it comes down to a kind of personality thing as well. Like, if you can go long periods without eating, fine. Some people, it might stress them out too much, and that actually might cause a negative effect to what you're actually trying to do, because it might be way too stressful for them to actually eat the food that they're required to do, and therefore it's going to like become a problem. So it comes down to the individual with that. The other ones that are quite common is the 5 and 2. So obviously 5 days of normal eating and 2 days of really, really low calories. Again, if I'm sedentary on those 2 days, maybe, but I find people will tend to overconsume the next day. So then that becomes a problem. So I would tend to avoid that completely. So the main reason that intermittent fasting kind of got its thing was because obviously autophagy or autophagy or however you call it of cells, which is basically where a cell will kill itself and then the body will go into what's known as phagocytosis and kind of remove that dead cell from the body. So it's meant to clean up your cells.
Yes.
Your body actually does that anyway. Resistance training is actually a process where it will naturally do that, because if you're breaking up tissue and causing microtrauma there, it's actually going to tell the body you need to clean up that area, and that's when you basically get phagocytosis, which will be the removal of those cells. So it's kind of, it's one of those, look, if you like it, great. Is it the best thing for you? Probably not. If I'm weight training and doing it, then I would prioritize my timed window of eating around when I'm going to train.
Cool.
So I would go, if I'm training in the morning, I would probably eat before then, and I would then eat around it, and then that would be my window of food consumption, because obviously I have to prioritize my performance to make sure that I'm still training.
Wicked. So you were talking about that cleaning up of the cells, yeah, because that's a big part. That's a big part of anyone that loves intermittent fasting. That's a big part of their pro. Yeah, it's you get all these benefits, but the cleaning up of the cells is the big thing. You mentioned that happens anyway from resistance training.
Yeah, and a calorie deficit as well.
So okay, so
that's problem solved.
That's hard case. That's a hard case. So calorie deficit, like while we're here, just real quick, yay or nay, like is weight loss as easy as as easy as a calorie deficit? Drop your calories down so your food in is more than the energy that you is less than the energy you're putting out. Is it that simple?
So I'll answer that with, so funny enough, this is like a segue section. I'm actually writing a nutrition book at the moment to kind of explain like everything going on.
Yes.
I am releasing it hopefully soon. I've got a few friends who I need to read it because my English is terrible. That was the one limited factor while I was at uni. So if we look at the dictionary definitions of, shameless plug-in. That's my boys there. So if we look at what the definition of weight loss is, or in terms of weight, it's the relative mass of the body, okay? So the weight loss or loss within itself is the process of losing something.
Yes.
So weight loss is the process of losing your relative body mass, right? If we're talking fat loss, it's the process of losing basically the natural oily substance, which is found either under the skin or around certain organs. So if I'm eating less food, all right, which will then in turn mean I'm in a calorie deficit.
Yes.
I will naturally lose weight.
Yes.
Because I have less food that I'm consuming, less food in my GI tract, and if I do via carbohydrates, I'll have less glycogen, water, and sodium on my body. So I will naturally weigh less. Now, does that mean though that I'm losing fat mass? No. And that's where a lot of people need to kind of get the idea that it is two different processes. You know, fat mass, my weight may stay the same, but I could be losing fat mass. So we got to then look at it and go, is that like, what is it? You know, there's two different ideas to that. So we have to kind of really kind of explain that a lot better with that. So yes, a calorie deficit for weight loss is very, very simple. It's just basically eat a little bit less than what you're already kind of consuming, ensuring your output is the same or a little bit more depending. So I kind of like the idea of eat less, do the same, or do more, eat the same. That's kind of my thing. Don't eat less, do more. That's always been a big no. But if we can do that, then you're naturally going to lose weight.
Cool. And we're being very selective with the term weight, right? Fat loss is, like you said, fat loss is a whole nother kettle of fish. Now, without going too deep into it, would you then say that fat loss is another whole thing altogether? That's a matrix of things we've got to get right. So
with fat loss there's a kind of a few things with fat loss. So number one, we gotta when I look at fat loss in terms of training stuff, if I train an hour a day, okay, which is the average time that we would train normally. I don't know about you CrossFit guys. I see you guys train like 3-4 times a day, doing crazy WODs and stuff like that, and pulling like, we're gonna do fucking Murph or something. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna run with a weight vest. That ain't gonna happen. I'm sorry. So
that's like the sardine thing, right? It's not happening.
Don't knock it till you try it. I've tried it. I had an asthma attack halfway through, and I'm like, I am not doing this run. It's like 1.6K. I ain't doing that. But if we look at that and we go, okay, 4% of the 1 hour is 4% of my day. Whilst I'm training, I'm going to be mainly doing high intensity training, which means I'm more likely to use blood glucose, muscle glycogen, and then even some kind of muscle triglycerides as well to help fuel that performance, right? Now, the 96% of my day, which is the other part where I'm at rest, I am more likely to be using fat as an energy source because it's not as intense or not as demanding on the body. So when I look at that, I go, okay, well, do I want to be burning more in that 1 hour, or do I want to try and burn more fat in the 96% of my day? I know which one I would opt for more so. Yeah. And then when we kind of break that down even further, we know that particularly we use a lot of fats when we are at rest, or particularly in sleep. So this is where sleeping a lot more optimally might actually help improve that even further, and then give us other health benefits to that as well. So fat loss is a very kind of, it's nitty gritty. It's very nitty gritty. And I think, like, you know, we can say obviously calories, if we have a deficit, and we ensure that obviously carbohydrates are high and stuff like that, it's very, very important to know that and respect that. So that's why I think it's got to be very selective in how we talk about things, but also how we program those things as well.
Yeah, for sure. Right. While everybody is still here, rather than me going down the list and asking a whole bunch of people that are muted that don't want to speak, if you want to ask Dan a question right now, unmute your microphone so I can see that you're interested and you wanna ask a question, and then I'll go through those people. Once I can see their microphones unmuted, and then you guys can go straight into it and ask Dan some stuff. While we're waiting for you guys to unmute your microphones, so go ahead and do those now. While we're waiting for them, I've got a couple of other text questions in here. What do you think about plant-based diet for CrossFitters? As I have just watched 2 movies, Game Changers and What Is Health. Well, I've got my own opinion on Game Changers, but I'd love to hear yours. Go.
Go first. I want you to go first with this. Sure.
Okay. I'm gonna lead in first. So, Game Changers was a fucking awesome documentary. They had some really good information on there about the plant-based diet. Some of it actually answered some questions that and some skepticisms that I had for myself. It's undoubtedly it's the information that they put definitely shows that there's some benefits to plant-based diets, and that's a given. The issue that I have is the producer who produced Game Changers, James Cameron, also has some of the biggest fucking pea farms in the world. So obviously he's going to push his agenda like any other omnivore fucking presenter or producer would want to push their agenda. So my views on Game Changers is that the information is probably truthful. Whether you can blanket rule it across everybody is another story altogether. Myself personally, I struggle to get my head around the whole plant-based methodology. I understand the religious beliefs or the fanatic beliefs against animal cruelty. That's another whole thing. I'm not touching on that. I'm just talking specifically from a nutrients perspective. I struggle to get my head around it enough to be able to balance everything we need to when we're just getting it from a plant-based source. And I know that you can manipulate the way that they cook and do all the rest of it. But myself, for a CrossFitter, would a plant-based diet work for you? I'm going to say no, because I'd imagine that for the majority of people out there, their genetics, what they can handle, all of the rest of it, you'd be a 1 in a million for a plant-based diet to work for that person. It doesn't mean that it doesn't work for some people, and the people that's worked on were probably got lucky. But I would say for the masses, it's probably not going to work as well as someone that was consuming protein from another source, from a meat source. That's my views.
Yeah. So number one, I train a fair amount of vegan clients. I'm happy to say that. And the way that we got to look at it is there's going to be micronutrients that they're going to be deficient in straight off the bat. So obviously zinc is going to be the most common one, choline as well, omegas and stuff like that they're going to be quite deficient in. So you can supplement those things in there. Now, in terms of as well is amino acids. So we have obviously essential and non-essential amino acids, but also what's known as conditional essential amino acids. So that might be a certain food item which has all the amino acids you require except for one. So what you would need to do is you need to find something that would complete it or complement it to kind of help create a full amino acid profile to help with that. The thing that I kind of got is I'm very critical with these things. So I'm critical enough that I'm cynical, and that's kind of how I've always been. So when I look at kind of these things, is one, there's going to be an agenda, and totally understand that. And there's thousands of podcasts on there that will show this. They showed a lot of health benefits from going obviously to a vegan diet. Now, my question is yeah, no shit, because they're consuming a lot more vegetables and fruit than what majority of people are. So if we look at obviously the population of Australia, like only, I think it's like 7% of people actually consume the adequate amount of vegetables and fruit every day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 7% of people are actually fulfilling the vegetable and fruit intake requirements that is needed by the government. So I could probably say to people like, yes, if you eat enough vegetables, you're going to feel better. You're also most likely going to lose a little bit of weight because the volume of it is going to make you quite satiating and it's going to make you feel fuller for longer. I don't have anything against a vegan diet, but one of my mentors, Luke Lehman, actually says this is the best quote I've ever heard from it, is eat like a vegan, but garnish it with meat. So what I feel is we overconsume animal proteins probably way too much than what's actually required for our protein intake.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so how about we actually have more vegetables on our plate, consume more fruit, but actually have some proteins in there, like, you know, animal proteins that will help with that. You know, if you do opt to go to the vegan diet, no hate, you know, like that's your life choice, and I respect that, you know. And that's the thing, is being pro-choice with this is, why don't we then talk about, okay, these might be the nutrients that you're going to be lacking in, and you need to ensure that you take these, you know? So then we don't have any kind of health issues that may come along down the track.
Awesome. Absolutely. I love that. Why don't we take a vegan diet and supplement it with meat? And if you can't, we're just going to go find those things that are lacking. That's cool. How difficult is it for you to find those when you are working with your vegan clients? Is it have you done this for so long now that it's very easy for you to find those things that they are missing? Are they different from person to person, or is it fairly similar?
Look, I would just give them a broad spectrum, but this is what you'll need to have. And if they're good with it, great. If they're not, then would say, look, you still need to take it. It's kind of a safety net in that sense of things, because you know, it's micronutrients are used pretty much all the time in the body. So I'd rather ensure that you have enough of it to make sure that we can still keep, again, the host healthy and everything going well, that we don't have any issues that may exacerbate kind of track that we weren't aware of. So with that, that's kind of my take on that. And then some of the research in that kind of doco, whatever you want to call it, was actually, again, kind of bastardized and taken out of context. So we need to make sure that, again, just because someone read the abstract doesn't actually mean the full thing. Like whole beetroot, so the beetroot juice to increase anaerobic power, the amount of beetroot juice you'd actually have to take would be a very, very high amount of it. And I don't see people slamming that down just for it. You know, I'd rather, again, maybe take some. So it's kind of like, you got to, again, be very critical when someone kind of says these things. Even myself, like if I say something, I would rather people go out and try and find the research and the evidence behind it and go, okay, and then come to their own conclusion. And that's where I say I'm pro-choice.
Yes.
So that's kind of my take on that bit. Yeah.
I love it. Stephen Fry, what are some other people you recommend educational and science-based learning from Dan? Love listening to Dan Garner's podcast, for example.
Okay. I love Dan as well. Studied under him for a while, so he's a cool guy. So other ones, it depends on what you're talking about. So Revive Stronger is a really good podcast. They do some great work. Bodybuilding Dietitians are a great podcast. I've been listening to them quite frequently. Muscle Mentors from the UK, so Cal and Luke, they're good as well. I've been doing some of their courses as of recent. And then like if you're interested in like training stuff, like RX Radio is good as well. So that's run by Dr. Jordan Shallow. So there's some really good ones. And then like anything from like Renaissance Periodization is good. So those are kind of like the guys that I would look for in terms of science and in terms of podcasts. Education wise, it depends on the person. And I mean, Stephen, if you want to message me, we can have a chat and I can kind of point you to where you want to learn and read about and stuff like that. I'm more than happy to help with that if that's something. So send me a DM and we'll chat. But yeah, so that would be what I would say from a podcast perspective. They're really, really cool guys. There's another one, I think it's Jungle HQ, and that's run by Jack. He's really good. He's in Melbourne, and they actually do a review on actually the game changers, which is really, really cool. So, yeah, so that was really good, and that's actually got a lot of science behind that as well. So maybe listen to that one if you're good. Yeah.
Cool. We've got some comments on here, which is awesome. Christina Stewart said, no questions, just lights on in my brain. Yeah, which is awesome. Unknown has said, I've definitely learned something today. Didn't realize that fat loss is different to weight loss. So that's cool. That's real good. Rachel says, objection. Fear, most people go to it. I'm suspecting about the vegan stuff. Fear, most people go to it from poor diets. But for example, before going vegan, I was eating just as much veggies, variety included, and still felt and saw a huge difference. So, that's a fair statement.
Yeah, but yeah. I can also say a statement that I've been working with her for a month now, and I've actually got some better progress. So
yes, awesome.
Vegan over here.
Awesome.
So, I don't mean to shoot you down with that, Rach. It's all love. But yeah, so. But yeah, so it does come down to, again, it's a subjective thing as well in terms of vegan diets. So it's kind of, we got to look at it from a multitude of things. So, but yeah, that's pretty much all I'm going to cover. I think that's enough on the veganism side of things.
Absolutely. Stephen said, thanks, buddy. He's going to slide you over a DM for sure.
Yeah, cool.
Monique said, cool session. Thanks, guys. So, team, last chance for you guys to unmute your microphones or slide it in the chat, slide us a message in the chat. We'll hang around for about 30 or 40 seconds or so just to give you guys a chance to open up your microphones and ask Dan a question live. All of the text questions have been answered. All the Facebook questions have been answered, which has been great. While we wrap up, Dan, do you want to give yourself a plug? Tell these guys how to get in touch with you. Should they need your services, go for it, man.
Yeah, so best way to, if you are interested in working, whether it be for coaching or consultation or anything like that, either send me a direct message. So my Instagram handle is @Dan_teamecto, so just as it says here. And then if not, you can always send us an email. So it's just hello@teamecto.com.au. So that's another one. So there's a few messages here. I've just seen them. So
are you seeing them?
Yeah. So stress and body composition, how does it affect people's results? That's a can of worms, and I know one of my guys messaged that. So the other one is menopause. So we can actually, we can talk about that. I'm down to talk about.
Let's go for it.
Stress. We'll talk stress and body comp because that's probably going to be the easiest one, and then from there we'll talk menopause because that's a different kettle of fish. So look. In terms of stress, what we find is if a person has a high level of stress, then what we got to understand is the body will not handle nutrients appropriately, and also there will be a massive amount of blood glucose which is present in the body. Okay, so when we have a massive amount of blood glucose coming in, which is what's known as endogenous, so obviously our body's creating it itself, and then we ingest that exogenously as well, so a higher carbohydrate diet, then we have this circulating blood glucose system. Now, the way that I look at kind of like the cell is I kind of look at like a house. So we have basically insulin, which is kind of like the pizza man, and the insulin's job is to bring glucose, which is the pizza, to the door, ring the doorbell, which is obviously the receptor, to then allow us to take that pizza in. Now, over time, if we have a massive constant supply of this going in all the time, and the pizza guy keeps ringing the doorbell over and over again, we're essentially going to disable the doorbell and go, I'm not playing. So what happens then is we have this ton of glucose just sitting outside the cell. Now, over time, that becomes an issue because what happens is it can glycate. So glycate basically means it becomes sticky. So this is actually shown in a blood test known as HbA1c, which is glycated hemoglobin. So if a person has elevations of glycation there, we still need energy to produce movement and do our day-to-day business. So what happens is we have an elevation of triglycerides now going to the bloodstream as well to try and create energy for us. Now, when triglycerides go into the cell or get released, it also might release some toxins as well, which then can become an issue within itself as well. So then what happens is we have elevation of blood glucose, elevation of blood triglycerides, and basically a clusterfuck going on inside the body, and therefore we might develop a case which is known as non-diabetes kind of diabetes or pre-diabetes. So when we look at that, that's just one way that stress can play a mechanism of that. The other thing as well is it may reduce our ability to train. So our recovery might go down the tank. So we might need to back off on training. We might need to do other things. So in terms of body composition, that's a real fast way to put on a lot of visceral fat around the body really quickly. Mm-hmm. So I kind of say to a lot of people, like, that's just one kind of small niche in terms of how it affects body composition. So that's something, but that's a chronic thing. That would happen over time. Okay, it's not like going to happen straight away. It's like, oh, I'm stressed. Hey ho, I've now got a belly. It's not going to work like that. So that's something that you can use to be aware of with that. So yeah.
So basically, in layman's terms, stress and body composition are 100% linked. Like the more stressed you are, the more fat you're going to store.
Chronic stress will have over time an ability to impede body composition, yes. Yep. But again, acute stress is not a bad thing. Again, we need acute stress in the body to have that going. Okay, so when we say like acute stress, like training, so a training bout is an acute stressor.
Yeah.
You know, from that we have an adaptation which allows us to become stronger, so we can perform better in the gym or push harder. So that's an acute thing. Chronic would be you've trained, you have poor sleep, you've got life stresses going on. You know, all these things are confounding on top of each other, which is what we would call an allostatic load of stress. And if we haven't got the systems in place to recover from that load, then that's when we're going to start seeing chronic stress implications. And then we can talk about obviously how that might affect cortisol, which would then impede on our ability to handle like testosterone very well. So we actually notice that a decrease in testosterone, which you see in a lot of guys as well, as they have like low mood, apathy, and even depression. So that's just from, but again, that's a long period of time. So that's stuff we don't need to worry about, but it's kind of like there's ways around it and stuff like that. Like what I recommend some people do is maybe like do like 1 day of just complete rest, making sure they're eating enough kind of food and stuff like that. That would be a real surefire way just to kind of fix that.
Cool. Let's dive into the menopause thing. Yeah. And then we can wrap this up.
Yeah. Menopause is always a fun one. So with menopause in particular, so we got to look at, there's 3 subcategories of estrogen. Okay. So we have estradiol, which is the most common one. So that is actually mainly prevalent more so in kind of like most women. Okay. So most women will have elevations of that, okay, throughout the time. And then if we actually look at, if we go, then we have estrone, which is E1. So that's actually found more commonly when you're in menopause. So that's circulating about 5 to 10% normally. And then you have what's estriol, which is around 80 to 90% circulating in your body. And that's actually found more higher in pregnancy. So with what we say to a lot of people is menopause is more so it reduces that estradiol, which is actually needed to cause kind of the menstrual cycle to begin, okay? And then from there, obviously, the lack of bleeding, which is obviously a massive surge of E2 or that estradiol, that's what causes that. In terms of body composition and stuff like that, it doesn't really have as much of an effect. If anything, you're actually going to have higher levels of androgens being present in the body, which actually means that you might be able to train a little bit harder, recover a little bit better and stuff like that. So it might be a better way in terms of that. But yeah, it's what we got to understand is that there's actually 3 subcategories of estrogen. So by kind of getting into that kind of thing, that's what we'd say with that. Yeah.
Okay. So do you have to tweak anything specific for no, nothing?
No.
Yeah.
It's honestly like, and that's the thing with that is it doesn't really, you might have to reduce carbohydrates down slightly because obviously we know that estradiol is obviously insulin sensitive, but it wouldn't, I mean, if we're moving and we're creating activity, then we can kind of pass that on from there, you know? So that's what I would say with that for sure.
Cool. Dan, holy shit. We've been going.
I was going to say it's another one here, bro.
It's 1 minute. It's 10 past 1, bro. We've been yabbering for a good hour, which is cool, and that's why I love this format. I'm pretty sure we've answered all the questions, man. We've covered everything. I've certainly learned a shitload, which has been great. and you've definitely educated me on the services that you provide, and 100% for myself and the gym members that we have. Anything that I can't answer or pass on, or anything that's outside of my scope, I am definitely going to send them your way, my man, for sure.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. It's always glad to. I hope everyone kind of got something out of this as well. Like, I didn't want it to just be like, you know, a rant time and stuff like that, and just like, you know, just me sitting here at a desk and just shouting at the moon and shit like that. You know what I mean? Because I didn't want it to be like that. I want it to be a point where someone can take away something, even if it's just one thing from today that they can implement, or, you know, think about, or kind of change their views. And that's kind of what it should always be. You know, it's like just trying to elevate and raise the level. So yeah.
Absolutely, man. Just trying to get one person to be 1% better every day, right? That's what we're chasing.
That's it. That's always been the case.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, I'd love to have you back for another chat in a couple of weeks. We can pick a different topic. We can send out some information to the guys and see what people want to hear about. Maybe we can dive into fat loss a little bit more. Maybe we can dive into muscle building a little bit more. Or if there's a hot topic that you're loving, that you're super passionate about on it, maybe we can have a yarn about that. But I'd definitely love to do it again.
So anything regarding nutrition related stuff, or kind of like physiology, that's kind of what I love. And that's, I mean, I've got tons of books on that stuff. So I'm happy to just sit here and just regurgitate information and apply it in concepts that will help people understand it a lot more. So
awesome.
I'm happy to do any of that shit. So whatever anyone wants to talk about, let's awesome. Play.
Wicked. Dude, thank you so much for your time, Dan. I really appreciate it. You'll be sent a link to this, man, so you'll be able to download the full thing. It just happens automatically, so you'll be able to chop and use this for content later. Everybody that's listening, thank you for hanging around. We will definitely send this out, so if anyone missed it or you chimed in and out, you'll be able to watch the replay. But dude, fucking wicked to put a face to your name, and hopefully after COVID's done, we can actually do one like proper face to face with some real good coffee. Yeah. That
Alex Jr. for sure, man. For sure.
My shout for sure.
I'll take it for that. And if anyone wants to ask any questions that they didn't want to post up here, and they just want to kind of keep hush and just like kind of keep it personal, again, happy to chat, message, whatever. Like, I'm not doing anything these days. I'm pretty much in my office 90% of my waking hours. So if you want to just chat, like, let's just have some fun. Like,
cool. And what's your best platform to get you on if you had to pick one?
Instagram at the moment. I'm not gonna lie. Facebook's kind of reserved mainly for clients, just because it's just easier to communicate that way with them. So if anyone wants to hit me up, Instagram would be the best. Especially if you just want a general kind of chat and plan, for sure.
Cool. Love it, Dan. Thank you so much, bro.
No worries.
Awesome. Ciao.
Bye.